News Talk 640 WFNC. We got the mayor in here, and we're getting right to him. You know, I like the fact, Kenny, I'm bringing us all three of us up on screen here. You know, I like the fact that the mayor comes in early.
Yes, sir.
Because you get a little bit extra time when you do that. Now, he's been known to come in, your time is 7:20. And when you come in at 7:20,
well, you know, it changes. You tell me when I'm 7:20, I need to be at 7:15.
Well, but when you come in early, you get a little extra time. Is the point? And we got a lot to talk about this morning.
Yep.
The first thing I want to talk about is Kenny and I have been toying with changing the national anthem that we're going to play as the station opens. So in the morning at 6 o'clock, you hear the national news, and then boom, then you hear the national anthem, which is an instrumental right now. Kenny, is that correct?
That is right.
Okay.
It was actually composed by Ethel Merman back in the day. So,
all right. Well, I'm proposing a change because I had Greg Adair in here, who is the drummer for River Mist Band. It's a local band here. Mm-hmm. And my thought is, look, if we're going to do this, let's do this with a local band. And so we want you to hear the rendition of it and get your take. Play it, Kenny.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Wow. They did that in studio?
They were standing around a microphone and said, "Hey, I'm gonna have to bring your monitor down a little bit." They're standing around a microphone in the studio and say, "Hey, let's sing the Star Spangled Banner."
Wow.
And that's what they produce.
Harmonizing, man. That was great.
Yeah. What your thoughts as the mayor of
think
Fayetteville?
that should do it.
We should do it?
That's it.
All right. All in favor, raise your hand. Say aye. Aye. All opposed? The eyes are above the nose.
I need you on Monday night, so
That's
come on
right.
down.
All right. Well, look. Well, Mr. Mayor, we appreciate your input on that. And we're going to talk with the station management about making a change. All right. Now, with the other things we need to talk about with you in terms of what's going on in the city, we've got a ribbon cutting that's going to be taking place here at 10 o'clock this morning. MacArthur Park. Talk about
Sports
that.
Park.
Yeah. You got to be excited about this.
Definitely. We have, it's been anticipated. We are completing the last round of the Parks and Rec bond project. So MacArthur Road is a collaboration between Fort Bragg, who donated 83 acres to the city. So we'll have a number of ball fields there, trying to see if we can work with the TDA or some of the tourism sports to see if the fields can also be used in the off-season, from baseball or softball to soccer, possibly lacrosse. So really excited, but it'll break ground today so that we can get started and get that project completed.
You know, that's kind of like what we've done with Segra Stadium downtown in terms of about what it's able. And they've got a nice program going on today for military families as well. Talk about that a little bit, because Segra is able to do what you're talking about, having the other.
Yeah, when we built Segra Stadium, I was on the baseball committee, and they brought us some options to say, hey, if you add an extra, I can't remember how much the dollar amount was, but it can be converted for soccer or football. And so, previously when the Astros, because their main thing was baseball talent, they really weren't interested in they had concerns with the field usage during the offseason or in between and getting it converted back. So Diamond Holdings is a great club. They're in 49 different cities. And, hopefully we can speak to their leadership and see if we can activate that during the offseason for either soccer or imagine a 3 or 4A football championship taking place at Segra Stadium. That'd be awesome.
Well, it's awesome because the talent would be there and everything, but there's the economic side of that. To speak to that, because that's what you're doing even with the MacArthur Park.
Right.
This is not just we want to have 12 nice baseball fields.
No.
This is bigger than that.
Yeah, no, we want people to when they say, we want to go to a community to host our tournaments, we have to stay in hotels, we have to eat food, even though the city doesn't get any of the hotel or the food money. We're making substantial investments, and we're going to take a look at that with a professional analysis to see how we can do it better. But I think partnering with the Distinctly Fayetteville, partnering with our Parks and Rec, and being on one accord, singing off the same sheet of music to say these are the dates that can be used for sports tourism, and let's go after it. But we have to have the facilities. Not long ago, we broke ground on or had the final walkthrough on the tennis center, which will host tournaments and be able to bring people into our community. So every time someone comes into our community, it's an opportunity for us economically to move forward.
Every time I hear about one of these type projects, I think of the Field of Dreams.
Yeah.
If you build it, they'll come. And so for me, it's the residual impact that happens when someone who's not been to Fayetteville from Tennessee or from Florida who come up for a tournament,
right,
and they know Fayetteville as a bedroom community, or they think of the sleazy bars that used to be on Hay Street, and they get here and they say, wait, that's not what this is.
That's right.
That's that residual impact. Talk about that a little bit, because that's important to this community.
Well, absolutely, and that is what you're talking about is goodwill that you can't pay for that. That people come in and may have not been here since the 80s, and the place is a lot different over the last 10 years. And so that's impactful, because they'll leave this community saying, I went to Fayetteville, North Carolina, had a great time. Fort Bragg automatically brings people and families in and out of our community, and we want to make sure that they have the best experience. So when they have an opportunity to come back, or they may live in other parts of the state, and tourism can do the same thing, sports tourism. And so I think we need to double down and make our investments on that. And I got a little something I want to add to that once we get to that.
Okay, and if you're just joining me, Mitch Colvin is Fayetteville's mayor. He's been mayor since the beginning of time, and maybe 5 terms now.
5 terms.
5 terms, but I guess the bigger part of that, you've been mayor 5 terms. How many times have you been mayor here when Fayetteville has been selected an All-American city?
1 under my watch.
Just 1.
Yeah, it's 4 times. Not that old, man.
Yeah, but the point I was going to make is the fact that this
we're
city,
a 4-time All-American city.
So that just doesn't happen because we're some slouch city.
That's right.
And it doesn't happen because Raleigh thinks they're better than us.
Well,
not
according to the All-American city.
Well, how many titles do they have? I'm just asking.
I got to deal with Mayor Cowell at some point, so that was starting no trouble here.
0. I don't have to deal with the mayor up there. Hey, Kenny, I got you on camera. How many All-American cities does Raleigh have?
0.
All right. So, all in favor of giving Raleigh an All-American city, say aye. All opposed?
All right.
No. The no's are below the eyes. Okay. Well, and the only reason I even make that point is because I work for WREL. I work for WTVD. TVD's out of Durham, and WREL is out of Raleigh.
Right.
And because I work for those 2 companies, I know the mindset of how the folks up there think about the folks down here.
Yeah.
We are an afterthought unless there's a murder. Come on now. There's too much good going on in this community for that to be what we focus on.
Well, those stations are positioned in those communities, and they tell their stories best. And like you said, they send you down here when it's a negative story. Although
no, they didn't send me down. I live down here.
Oh, well, they tell you, Gilbert, get your mic out and let's talk about this tragedy. But I think we have to tell our story, and that's been a priority of the council. We've really ramped that up, and now that social media and there are other means to communicate in mass ways, we're not as dependent, but we really should have gotten a TV station back when the opportunity presented itself.
Well, we had
kept
one.
40.
Yeah, we had Channel 40. I was a weatherman on that thing, and we had. Yes,
you've been around since the beginning of time too.
Well, that's I was a weatherman. As a matter of fact, Rick Armstrong was the producer of the show. Okay. Charles Tonnell was the anchor, and who was it? John Rendleman was the sportscaster. Right. But they didn't have a weatherman. Yeah. And Rick and I developed a weather forecast, and I became the weatherman on Channel 40.
Wow.
And it was that, once they closed down the station, it was that air check tape that I used, and Channel 5 hired me as a weekend weather anchor for Channel 5. And a lot of people don't know I was a weekend weather anchor for Channel 5 and Channel 11. I started the show. Yeah, I've been here since the beginning of time.
Yeah.
But the point is the point that you're making is the fact that Fayetteville should have its own television station.
Absolutely.
And,
And you see places like Kinston and other places with a news station. I mean, we definitely should have that.
All right, we'll talk about that and other things coming up here. We've got Mayor Mitch Colvin here, comes every Thursday morning, and we're going. As a matter of fact, we're going to have Greg Fischel on after you to talk about the weather. Yeah, we have him in on the 1st and 15th of the month. But look, we're going to take a little break, come back with you because you came in early, and that's good. You're listening to News Talk 640 WFNC. We've got Fayetteville's most dependable forecast with CBS 17 meteorologist Rachel Dunsing.
This morning will start out with patchy fog, followed by late morning showers, and then eventually gradually clearing skies with a high of 76. Tonight will be partly cloudy with a low of 53, and Friday will be partly cloudy with a few more showers in the afternoon and a high of 72. Saturday is going to be another rainy and chilly day with highs only in the low 60s, but Sunday will dry out and warm up, followed by warmer weather next week. That is your Fayetteville forecast. I'm CBS 17 meteorologist Rachel Dunsing.
Okay, Rachel, thank you. Right now, 63 in Fayetteville, Fort Bragg, and also in Grays Creek. You're listening to News Talk 640. We're WFNC.
Always first in News Talk for North Carolina. News Talk 640 WFNC. In high def at 103.5 HD2.
Ritchie Law Firm Injury Lawyers. Ritchie Law is on top of it. Go to ritchielaw.com.
That's ritchielaw.com.
Okay, you know you love spring. You know your plans to make your yard beautiful. I'll bet you didn't know. Just one click will get you an incredible deal at Clicks Nursery.
WFNC640am.com.
Clicks Nursery on Barefoot Road has everything you want for this spring. I mean everything. Fruit trees ready for sweet summer harvest. Flowering trees that bring instant charm to any landscape. And sturdy shrubs perfect for lining your garden or creating a little extra privacy. This spring, whether you're planting a couple of pots or planting a full garden, you'll find quality plants and friendly local help every step of the way. Grow local, shop local, plant local at Clicks Nursery. For their hours, photos, and daily updates, go to Facebook. Clicks Nursery on Barefoot Road. Just one click, and your spring begins. Clicks Nursery is the WFNC Sweet Deal of the Week. Log on now to WFNC640am.com. Click on the Sweet Deals logo. You'll get two $25 gift certificates for only $25. Clicks Nursery, your sweet deal of the week.
When was the last time your CPA brought you a strategy that dramatically saved you taxes? This is Roger Harris, president of Whitehorse Financial. The two biggest robbers of wealth are debt and taxes. Our team of tax attorneys and tax planners help successful people legally pay less tax. If you have over $1 million in retirement accounts, or you're selling a business or real estate, we may be able to help. Call 910-339-2625 for a 15-minute discovery call, or visit whitehorse-financial.com.
Looking for ways to save on your utility bills? PwC offers several incentive programs that can help you lower your costs and improve efficiency at home. From energy-saving upgrades to smart solutions, you may qualify. Learn more and see what's available at faypwc.com.
Enrolls you in a recurring automated marketing text messages. Consent not required to purchase. Message and data rates may apply.
The team's looking good this season.
I think so. Man, I miss playing football. Ever since I turned 40, I just can't find that fire I used to have.
Think it could be lower testosterone?
What do you mean?
I was feeling the same way. After 40, the body has less testosterone, and men lose their edge. That's why I take Nugenix Total T2.
That's the testosterone booster, right?
Yes, but Total T2 is their brand new formula that skyrockets nitric oxide levels in as little as 3 hours. Since I started taking it, I've been lifting like when we played for Coach Carter. My energy is way up, and it even spiced up things between me and the missus.
Are they still giving out complimentary bottles?
Yep, just send a text.
Text SPARK to 215215 for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T2, the next generation testosterone booster. Text now and we'll include a bottle of Nugenix Thermo X, our newest, most powerful fat burner ever, absolutely free. Text SPARK to 215215. That's SPARK to 215215.
These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Good morning, Fayetteville with Gilbert Bays on WFNC News Talk 640 AM and now on 103.5 HD2 WFNC.
News Talk 640 WFNC. We're going to get right into it because the mayor is going to be giving the boot here in a little bit, and I always like to make sure that you have enough time to do what we need to do. You know, sometimes, Kenny, bring my mic all the way back up because you must have me down. Am I down?
It could be the monitor. I'm not sure.
I can't hear myself talk either.
Yeah, I see. I don't want to turn you up too much because Kenny brings me down. There I am now. Now I'm back to America. Okay, can you hear the monitor at all?
I can hear it.
Yeah, but when we do that, you hear the echo, don't you, Kenny? I hear it now.
Okay.
I'm going to just get you some headphones
There
one
you
of these
go.
days. Come in here with your headphones. I got a jack for you here, okay? We can put you in the jack, put your head. You won't, I mean, you'll still look like the mayor.
Come in with some Dre beats. I got it.
Bring your beats in here, and you'll be able to hear exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Kenny, you were in the room playing commercials.
Yes.
The best conversation in this morning happened while the mics were off.
I couldn't see the mayor, but I saw you. You were rather animated.
You said I looked.
That's a fact.
I looked animated.
Well, I couldn't see Mitch from my angle, but
Right.
yeah, you definitely.
This is all you saw from me. And
Pretty
another
much.
thing, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And then I come back. Hey, News Talk 640 WFNC. Well, but the point is, I'm a journalist.
Yeah.
And sometimes there are editorial comments that are made.
Yeah.
And I can either take off my journalist hat and make editorial comments because this is a talk show, and then put my journalistic hat on. Jeff Thompson used to do that all the time, who was here with in this
The
seat.
disclaimer: this doesn't reflect the views of the station of Gilbert.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right. But anyway, spirited conversation. Let's get back to the message at hand. Kenny, you out? You can go ahead and make biscuits or whatever you're doing. Mr. Mayor, before we left, we were talking about a number of different things here. The stadiums that are coming on, the nice program that's going to be going on right now tonight at Segra Stadium and everything.
Yeah.
And we're also dealing with this data center issue. And I've talked with Kirk Deviere about it, talk with you back and forth. The county's talking about a moratorium. The city is not talking about a moratorium, but what are you talking about doing?
Well, look, listen, you're not going to stop innovation. You can slow it down, you can delay it, you can try to refuse it, but you won't stop it. And so communities that are forward thinking are thinking ways to deal with it and to make sure that their community benefits, not as a victim of the impacts of it. So we took a 120-day pause. Our staff had been researching, working on this. They briefed us on it. They have gathered a number of pros and cons about data centers back since September, October of last year. So we put a 120-day pause for the council to catch up, to maybe visit a few. Kenny did some very surface level research, but there are some new technologies, just like the cell phone was as big as your iPad when it came out in the 80s, and now it's condensed to this. So that first generation did use a lot of power, did use a lot of water, but they have new techniques and strategies. And then the biggest thing that a city can do, because we don't regulate all of that, and I'm sure there'll be some state and federal guidance and guardrails. The guardrails we have is called zoning. You don't allow these in neighborhoods. You don't allow it next to schools. You don't allow it where it's going to have the greatest impact. For us, we're very dense within the city, so you don't have 50, 100 acres in a neighborhood. But what you do have is land out by the airport. You have land near PwC that's unused, that's been contaminated, a brownfield that could be cleaned up and reprogrammed and brought back on the tax roll. So have to be forward thinking. We need to put the guardrails in protection, but 120 days will give us an opportunity to do our research, go through the process. Hopefully we'll get an ordinance adopted that has protections in it. Right now we don't have anything. It's just up to the discretion of Manager Hewitt. And so that's no way to run a community. But innovation can't be stopped. You have to think how you blend in with it.
Yeah, and so the city is the municipality within the city limits, and then you have the county.
Yep.
And so these data centers could be put anywhere in the county or in the city. And I would assume or hope that whatever restrictions or policies or guidelines that are implemented by one municipality or the county
consistent.
They would have to be.
And that was the pause, too, to make sure that our staffs work together to get some consistent guidance. And the other thing, too, is, Gilbert, I read yesterday that, Spring Lake is up in arms because the school system is making a decision to close schools, right? Impact on that community for sure, but it's a cost burden. You have to get our tax base up. One of these data centers, if it's $1 billion, will pay $5 million. That's just to the city, and probably an equal amount to the county. The average one is $4 billion. So you're talking $20 or $40 million to go towards teacher supplemental pay, help keep schools open, and do some very much needed things in our community.
Yeah, but who says that that's what the money's going to be used for?
Yeah,
I mean,
but
it may
you've
be
got
used
a lot more options when you have it than when you don't.
Well, yeah, and that's what I thought was going to happen with the lottery money, and I all the billions of dollars that were supposed to be for the education lottery, Teachers should have raises
then
and everything.
You've got more ability to ask your local officials to do what you want when they make the decisions than you do with 400 people in Raleigh.
Well, I agree with that, but then that needs to be put on the paper and made sure that if that's one of the stipulations,
I gave you an example. In Huntsville, they asked Meta to donate directly to the schools, and they wrote a $2 million check to the school system. So, absolutely, I think that's it.
Okay, all right. I'm not going to beat you down. Yeah, I'm going to beat you down on this. We want to make sure it's not just you because you just one vote, and you got the city. What are the other city council members saying about this? I need to get some of them on here too.
They want to be prudent. They want to do their research. This is an important decision for our community. You don't want to miss opportunities, but you don't want to be reckless and careless either. So somewhere between the balance of protecting the community and making a good informed decision and a forward-thinking decision. You can't say we're going to grow our cyber and technology workforce and then tell technology and the future and innovation that we don't want you in our community. So how do we do it in a balanced way that won't have a negative impact?
Well, and I guess the point we want to make is the city is not saying you have a moratorium. Yeah. You have a pause, and there's a technical difference between the two, and why? What is that?
Well, she explained that the other day. Moratoriums are not ways to stop or kill projects. What they are to be used in good faith to do more research, to allow you an opportunity to get policy caught up and in place. And some of these things we have already started working on. We've already started working on zoning and policy and guardrails and protections. So the moratorium really didn't fit what we needed. Now, as the county goes through that conversation, I'm not sure where they are, but the fact that our staffs are sharing information, a lot of that research is done already.
All right. About time to give you the boot, but I want to make sure you got the things you want to talk about, and I go off on a tangent on you sometimes. Make your last point before you get the boot.
Last point is this. You talked about the tourism and the importance of it. As we continue to build that out, I have a request in that will be presented to the city council for next Monday to do research on a convention center hotel downtown. We can no longer depend on the county. It's not necessarily their responsibility to build Fayetteville's downtown. We've seen that they've tended to put their investments further out. They built the health department and social service out, which is not an investment, but a new building. They made a decision to move the Performing Arts Center to 301. In fact, the only thing that's really been built in our downtown by the county has been the jail. So we've got to move toward building our downtown. We're too large of a city. In fact, the only one out of the top 7 or 8 that doesn't have a convention center, which I think will bring a hotel and more tourism into our community.
Well, and you make a good point here because the leadership of the county and the city at the time, the jail should have been built out.
And the Crown should have been built in.
Yeah. And that didn't happen that way.
Yeah.
And of course, we have to do this another time here. But
it's up to us to build our downtown, and the city's going to, if the council approves, we're going to see what the feasibility and practicality of that is, so that we can host some of these conventions when,
look.
The DJs of America get ready to have a convention. We want them right here.
Well, look, I'm going to tell you, and I missed my calling being mayor because I made this pitch when J.L. Dawkins was the mayor. We had the Sears building and the AIT building and the Prince Charles Hotel. We missed an opportunity to turn that hotel into whatever it is and the AIT building into some type of convention center and utilize the space right across the street that I didn't understand why we weren't making that decision.
There you go.
And that's because I wasn't mayor.
Well, it's not too late.
It is too late. I don't live in the city anymore. That's okay.
We can annex you.
Don't start that because my folks up in Blakeville, every time I talk about it, I'm going to run for mayor and I'm trying to get the mayor and city council to annex Vander. My name, they're going to run me out of town. I like paying one tax and taking my own trash to the dump. So anyway, look, Mr. Mayor, it's always a spirited conversation. I'm glad you voted for the River Band.
It sounded great.
What's the name of the group?
River Mist.
River Mist Band, yes. Yeah. And I think we can convince Colvin, and hopefully we'll start it on May 1st. Wouldn't that be something? The 1st of May, we change our thing, and we have a local band singing the national anthem.
All right,
Mr. Mayor, don't go anywhere. I'm going to take a picture of you. Let me hold it. Let me put you up by yourself here on our podcast if you're watching, and I'll put his name on it. That is Mitch Colvin, the mayor of Fayetteville, North Carolina. All right. You're listening to News Talk 640 WFNC. Right now, local news from CBS 17.
Good morning from the CBS 17 newsroom. I'm Bill Young. A man is under arrest, held without bond, charged with a murder in Fayetteville. Orlando Prime is accused of stabbing Nadine Dove to death. According to police, it was just before 2 Wednesday morning when officers got a call of a suspicious person on Ruby Road. They encountered Prime, had some kind of interaction with him that escalated to the point they arrested him. And that is when officers say he led them to the house with Dove dead inside. Police have not yet said how the two are connected. Oil prices have soared overnight. A barrel of Brent crude now selling for $123 a barrel. It was $70 before the war with Iran 2 months ago. The hike is because of long-term disruption fears in the Strait of Hormuz. Of course, this hike likely to impact gas prices, which nationally are at an average of $4.30 a gallon. That's according to AAA, which has the average here in North Carolina at $4.02 a gallon. On a local level, the average in Fayetteville is $3.97. Happening today, there is a groundbreaking ceremony for a new state-of-the-art 70-acre sports complex in Fayetteville. MacArthur Road Sports Complex will feature 12 baseball fields, a playground, trails, even an office space, and a conference room. The groundbreaking set to happen at 10 o'clock this morning right off MacArthur Road near Interstate 295. Stay updated 24/7 by downloading the CBS 17 News app. From the CBS 17 Newsroom, I'm Bill Young.
This morning will start out with patchy fog, followed by late morning showers, and then eventually gradually clearing skies with a high of 76. Tonight will be partly cloudy with a low of 53, and Friday will be partly cloudy with a few more showers in the afternoon and a high of 72. Saturday is going to be another rainy and chilly day with highs only in the low 60s, but Sunday will dry out and warm up, followed by warmer weather next week. That is your Fayetteville forecast. I'm CBS 17 meteorologist Rachel Dunsing.
Okay, Rachel, right now 65 degrees in Fayetteville, Hope Mills, and also in Dunn. You're listening to News Talk 640 WFNC.
This report is sponsored by the CCM Memorial Day Golf Event at Gates 4, May 13th.